Andrew Luck retired from the NFL Saturday at the age of 29, and it's hard to convey how huge of an impact that has not only on the Colts, but on the entire NFL. Luck was in the league for 7 seasons. This would have been his 8th, and he was really only healthy for 5 of them. In those 5 seasons, he made 4 Pro Bowls, and the Colts made the playoffs 4 times. Quarterback is easily the most important position in football, and Luck was pretty consistently one of the top guys in the sport at that position when he was healthy. And now, he's gone. It's true, players like Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders retired when they were 30. But first of all, they played for the Detroit Lions. Second of all, they were wide receivers and running backs. For wide receiver running back, 30's kind of old. Quarterbacks can play till they're 40. Tom Brady might play until he's 50. God, I hope Tom Brady doesn't play until he's 50. Andrew Luck is only 29. I'm 29, and I haven't even figured out how to shave yet. It's crazy to me that people my age are retiring from the NFL. The last quarterback to retire the year after making a Pro Bowl before the age of 30 was Johnny Lujack in 1952. Lujack had shoulder problems. He also wanted to help his father-in-law run a car dealership. That's how long it's been since a player as good as Andrew Luck retired this early in his career. It was back when car dealerships made more money than playing in the NFL. Before Luck's retirement, the Colts roster was kind of a miracle. They were built to contend in 2019, but they also led the NFL in salary cap space. They had $54 million left over in salary cap space, $18 million more than the next closest team. The highest paid player on their roster, T.Y. Hilton, only makes $15 million. They could sign another T.Y. Hilton, the highest paid player on their roster, and still lead the league in salary cap space. The Colts had their franchise quarterback, and they had the most salary cap space in the NFL, and they were the only team in the NFL with $100 million in salary cap space next year, and they were the only team in the NFL with $200 million in salary cap space in 2021. The Colts hadn't made the Super Bowl with Luck yet, but Luck was only 29 in a league where a lot of quarterbacks are heading into their late 30s and 40s. The Colts were set to dominate the AFC South for years, and Andrew Luck was probably going to be doing battle with Patrick Mahomes and Baker Mayfield for control of the AFC after Tom Brady eventually breaks down. He will break down someday, I think. Without Luck, the plan is kind of shot. You can use free agency money to buy star offensive linemen or cornerbacks or any other position, but you can't really use free agency money to buy a franchise quarterback. QBs almost always stick with the teams that drafted them. So how do the Colts get a quarterback? That depends on how they feel about their roster. If the Colts believe that they can win right now and make the playoffs and contend for the foreseeable future, they won't want to wait for a young rookie quarterback to develop. They'll want to go sign a veteran, which is why Luck's decision drastically alters the 2020 free agency market. Technically, Tom Brady and Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers are upcoming free agents, but if you thought that Andrew Luck retires from the NFL was surprising news, just think about how surprising it would be if Tom Brady left the Patriots in free agency to join the Colts. There's a 0.000 chance of that happening. The actual best free agents on the market this offseason, Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota. Unless Jacoby Brissett plays well for the Colts this season, in which case the best free agent on the market is going to be Jacoby Brissett, whose contract expires after this year. How Jacoby Brissett plays this year impacts the entire tenor of the 2020 offseason around the league. If it's clear that Brissett is a weak link holding the Colts back, then Indianapolis is probably going to be a buyer and might be interested in signing a quarterback like Winston or Mariota. But maybe the Colts don't think it's worth it trying to contend without Luck and would rather rebuild with a new quarterback from the draft. It's a strategy that's worked for the Colts before. They've been successful for the last 2 decades because they are the masters of tanking. In 1996, Peyton Manning was pretty clearly the best prospect in college football and could have been the #1 pick in the next NFL draft. But he decided to go back to Tennessee for his senior season, letting the entire NFL know that if they had the worst record in the league, they could take Manning #1 overall. So what did the Colts do? They started off the season 0-10 with Jim Harbaugh at quarterback.
I'm not angry. I'm not yelling.
That paved the way for them to draft Peyton Manning, which changed their entire franchise.
Do you want to lose?
With Manning, they were one of the best teams in the NFL for the entirety of the 2000s. They won 7 divisional titles in 8 years. They made the Super Bowl twice. They won a Super Bowl, all because they were bad in 1997. In 2010, Andrew Luck was clearly the best prospect in college football and could have been the top pick in the next NFL draft, but he decided to go back to Stanford for his senior season, where he was coached by Jim Harbaugh, the same guy who lost the Colts all those games when they needed to get Peyton Manning. And he let the entire NFL know that if they had the worst record in 2011, they could draft him #1 overall in the 2012 draft. That same year, Manning has neck surgery, and the Colts realized they want to start over at quarterback. And so they sucked for Luck.
Hi, I'm Andrew Luck.
Just 2 years removed from a trip to the Super Bowl, and 1 year after making the playoffs at 10-6, the Colts went 2-14, got the worst record in the NFL, and they got Andrew Luck. And this is relevant because it's pretty clear who the top quarterback in each of the next 2 drafts should be. This year, it's going to be Alabama's Tua Tagovailoa, who just set the all-time record for passer efficiency in only his first season as a starter. In 2021, it should be Clemson's Trevor Lawrence, who's drawn a lot of comparisons to Andrew Luck as a prospect. So should the Colts smash that tank button? I don't think so. I like Jacoby Brissett a lot, and the Colts already have a lot of pieces to build a pretty good roster. But if you look at their schedule, 5 of their first 6 games are against teams that finished 500 or better last year. If they start out the season 1-5 as they adjust to their new quarterback, it might be time to throw in the towel. Quarterback is such an important position, and there are not that many humans alive who are as good at it as Andrew Luck. And that's why this is such an important moment for the league. Not only does this change the trajectory of one team with an incredibly bright future, but how they choose to cope with this decision is going to change the trajectory of a bunch of other teams around the league.